The moves that have been made over the last few months had massive implications for the upcoming season. Some teams have made moves that could shoot them into the title contention. Now that the dust has settled, let's have a look at the teams that could be considered the biggest winners of the offseason. The Philadelphia 76ers. There was one superstar name on the trading block this summer who got the big move he was looking for. It had been clear for a few seasons now that the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George pairing in LA was not working. The Clippers came into the summer intent on keeping Kawhi while likely allowing Paul George to walk in free agency. The irony? Kawhi Leonard retires. Philadelphia was looking for more help for Joel Embiid. Considering the Sixers are coming off the back of a season where they were bounced in the first round, Paul George certainly adds that, and while there are concerns about his health, the 9-time All-Star played more games last season than he did in any of his 5 seasons with the Clippers. PG, 34 years old, showed he still has some gas in the tank. George is an elite defender and won't even need to be the secondary scorer with Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt. But there is much more to this move than you realize, with the deal allowing the Sixers to completely upgrade their rotation. They added Andre Drummond on a team-friendly 2-year deal, as well as former Miami Heat star Caleb Martin. With Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt, the Sixers re-signed Kyle Lowry and added Eric Gordon for even more depth and experience in the backcourt. But possibly the most important move for the future of the Sixers' success is the fact that they re-signed Maxey to a massive new 5-year deal that does not include a player option. By offering him this deal now, they maximized their cap space this summer, which helped to sign Paul George and many more big additions. Embiid has now also got another shooter off the bench, with the Sixers drafting talented Duke guard Jared McCain. The former California Mr. Basketball has got a ton of potential and could end up being one of the steals of the draft. That big three that the Sixers have is now one of the most balanced trios in the NBA. While they have had bigger names in the past, Philly seems set to contend at the very front after a brilliant summer, with their eyes set on Boston. The Eastern Conference teams were particularly busy this summer, with the New York Knicks being one of the busier teams. After a season where New York came extremely close to the conference finals, they didn't need to make huge moves this summer. Julius Randle should be back healthy for the start of next season, but despite that, the Knicks still decided to make one of the biggest trades of the offseason. They sent a package including 5 first-round picks and Bojan Bogdanovic to the Brooklyn Nets for Michael Bridges. It was a very surprising move for a lot of people, especially considering how successful the Knicks were last season. They did have to give up a lot for Bridges, with 5 first-round picks being a lot for a guy who has never even made an All-Star appearance. And it is true that the Knicks probably gave up more than Bridges is worth, but it is a win-now move which Jalen Brunson has got to love. Bringing in Michael Bridges means Brunson now has 3 of his former Villanova teammates, with an all-Villanova backcourt coming this upcoming season. Adding Bridges not only takes some of the scoring off of Jalen Brunson's shoulders, but it means the Knicks add an elite guard defender to their roster. Bridges was all-defensive first team just 2 years ago and is still only 27 years old. He is a great addition for the New York Knicks, albeit an expensive one. The reason why New York was able to do this deal, as well as re-sign former Raptor OG Anunoby, is because the Knicks pulled off a steal. They were lucky enough to get Jalen Brunson to take a massive discount on a 4-year deal instead of a much less team-friendly 5-year max deal that Brunson could have signed next year. The Knicks were not able to hold on to big man Isaiah Hartenstein this offseason as he signed a contract with OKC. Losing him hurts, particularly with the shaky injury history that Mitchell Robinson has developed over the last few years. If they lose him, their big man depth is not great for head coach Tom Thibodeau. But there is no doubt the Knicks are a better team right now than they were at the end of last season. Potentially, the Knicks are the biggest threat to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference coming up, even with all of the moves that other teams have made. Considering how young the core of the Oklahoma City Thunder are, they were a franchise who were expected to be very quiet this offseason. After a 57-win performance with a very young squad, why would Sam Presti make big changes? Well, despite that, The Thunder have still made 5 trades this offseason, as well as grabbed a big free agent. Their free agent acquisition is former New York Knick Isaiah Hartenstein, who signed a 3-year, $87 million deal with OKC. There is no doubt that this has got to be considered an overpay for a guy who only started just over half of the regular season for New York. What it does immediately is add more size and physicality to the front line for the Thunder. Chet Holmgren has at times been criticized for his lack of physicality, so adding Hartenstein should take some of the pressure off the youngster moving forward. Plus, Hartenstein's contract is really just a 2-year deal with an optional 3rd year. The Thunder were also able to improve their defense massively, something that lacked last season. While OKC might have had the 3rd best offense in the league, their defense was ranked 11th in the regular season, behind teams like the Pelicans and the Cavaliers. With the addition of Alex Caruso, that gives the Thunder an elite perimeter defender. The good thing about adding the former Laker in the rotation is that he will fit brilliantly into the Thunder offense, where he does not need to contribute massively. The deal works out brilliantly for OKC as they got rid of Josh Giddey, who just did not fit into this lineup like Caruso will. But the brilliance of this offseason is in fact that the Thunder have also kept an eye out for the future. With the upcoming big contracts for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, the Thunder have improved while still having enough cap space to keep all of them happy moving forward. The reigning #1 seed in the West even added more guard depth in the draft with Nikola Topic. They have got to be the favorites to be the best team in the Western Conference once again this year after a brilliant summer. Greg Popovich has got to be very happy with how the San Antonio Spurs has improved this offseason. After a year where we got to see that Victor Wembanyama is the real deal, San Antonio realized that if they added some more experienced pieces, they could be a playoff team right now. The team was able to cover both the present and the future during this offseason. That started in free agency with the Spurs making some very interesting moves. Their only signing was experienced veteran point guard Chris Paul. CP3 might be coming off a bad year, but he is a great presence for this locker room and should fit perfectly with Wemby. San Antonio also decided to add some more experience through the trade market. They went for another former Golden State Warrior in Harrison Barnes. While Barnes is coming off his worst scoring season in a long time, he still has an important role for the Spurs, and it is a great move considering how little the Spurs have to give up. The Spurs also look to the future in the draft, selecting UConn point guard Stephon Castle. Coming off the back of a national championship title, Castle looked good in limited minutes in the Summer League. He has certainly got a good mentor in Chris Paul. San Antonio planned for the future with their moves this offseason, increasing their already massive draft capital while also adding some crucial veterans. It gives the Spurs plenty of flexibility to add talent as Victor Wembanyama comes into his prime over the next few years. The Golden State Warriors made a huge move this summer when they decided that it was not worth it to offer a huge new contract to Klay Thompson. So the end of the Splash Brothers seems like it has been coming for a few years now, but the Warriors have reacted positively to this issue. Buddy Hield is one of the most underrated shooters in the NBA and will certainly help to fill the void left by Klay. With Klay moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, with the money they would have saved on Thompson, the Warriors added a 3 and a D specialist in DeAnthony Melton alongside Kyle Henderson. Okay, the Warriors might have lost one of the most important pieces of their title successes in the last decade, but this was an offseason where Golden State made some moves that are going to try to help them moving forward in the future. Now, next season is not going to be a fun one for the Brooklyn Nets and their fans. Losing Bridges certainly won't help this team in the long term, but it did allow the Nets to stack up draft picks for the next few years. They were also able to re-sign Nick Claxton to a pretty team-friendly deal. While this summer might not have made the Nets much better in the short term, it does give Brooklyn a ton of assets for their rebuild over the next few years. While there have been plenty of teams who have improved over this summer, the Philadelphia 76ers have got to be considered the biggest winners. They've added a superstar piece to this roster without having to give up very much. The Sixers made a win-now move without sacrificing the future. On paper, the Sixers look like one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. We will have to wait and see whether Philly really are the true winners of this offseason. But who do you think won the offseason this summer? Put your thoughts in the comments down below while you're down there. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.